Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Johnny Bag of Donuts, aka Johnny Bagoda Nuts. How's everyone doing? Say hello to your mother for me. You know why you're here. We're here for another edition of the First Four. Today, we're going to be looking at the game Below. It is developed by Cappy Games and originally announced in E3 back in 2013. Then in 2016, it was indefinitely delayed, and now, to my surprise, released in 2018 with like a week heads up. That was awesome. Glad it's here. Looking forward to it. Have been for years. Gonna keep talking like this. Alright, let's get down into the nitty gritty. This game is minimalistic in pretty much all of its structure. The visuals, the sound, the controls, and the art style is fantastic. You know, it goes for this dark yet clean, cartoony look that feels a little like Limbo if it were in color and like a 3D space. And then they do this like zoomed out approach, which makes you feel, you know, small and insignificant, and the worlds feel large and lonely. Not to say that you're gonna be alone, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Now, the sound design is spot on, with the world sounds and the music coming to the forefront. Nothing is like crazy over the top, but there's more going on than what you think or even notice. But again, with the simplistic approach that they go for. I mean, there was definitely times where it was both scary and pleasant listening to the swells of ambient pads while pushing through grass to, you know, open the fog of war towards the enemy as you hear it grunting in the distance. It's stuff that, you know, really stood out to me, and again, it was awesome. The soundtrack itself is great. It's transient, it's relaxing. I'm actually kicking myself for not getting the bundle pack on Steam that came with the full game soundtrack, but another one of life's missed opportunities. Controls are tight and responsive, fairly straightforward. I never felt I wasn't in control of the, you know, nameless wanderer, and I specifically liked how if you brought up either your shield or, you know, bow and arrow, the game took on this like twin stick shooter control scheme, so it was pretty cool. And I'm not one for crafting and liking the aspect of crafting in games, but this one was actually not too bad. You know, you would select an item, it would show you the other items that could go along with it to make something, so you're not just bumbling around and just trying to throw everything all willy-nilly together. You know, you'd be like, oh, I have a stick and string and ember, boom, you got yourself a torch. Not too bad. So I spoke earlier about the minimalistic approach, and it actually kind of hurts the level design. It's kind of marred down by its simplified approach. I mean, sure, there's differentiating sections, but the levels within those sections become pretty much indistinguishable. You know, the first grassy rock layer looks just the same as the 20th one, and the only true difference in these levels are the obstacles that prevent you from moving on, which requires you to continue on to the other non-distinct locations to get keys, to open rocks, to the light, or I don't know, it's just, it was tough to know where I was going. So, minding your cores turned out to be a little bit of a chore. You know, similar to Red Dead Redemption 2, your character has 3 cores in the game. There's hunger, temperature, and water. And for the first 4 hours, temperature is basically not touched, and water's pretty much everywhere. Finding food can be challenging, however, there are animals and fish and vegetables in the world that you can pick up and keep your hunger at bay. It was only at the very end of my playtime that water and temperature became a factor, and this didn't really mean that hunger took a back seat. It kind of added more gasoline to the fire. and it got a little out of hand. Now, the health bar in general, I was kind of on the fence with. I like that if your health was lowered, you could regain it by having your course kept at a high level, so it kind of just like fed into it and you made you want to make sure you had your course up. What I didn't like is that if you took damage, you would have to bandage your wound to avoid losing health. Now granted, you can allocate bandages, if we have them, to a hotkey, which I failed to think to do until after my playtime. But trying to bandage through your inventory system while in the middle of a fight is borderline insanity. Never mind, your stomach is empty and your temperature has gone down, thus it's adding to your health decrease. I mean, some people might find this as a welcome challenge, but this was just a little too much for me. Below, why below, why? I get it, I understand. There's a segment of the population that enjoys torture and pain. I am not one of those people. Now, I will admit, I will partake in a difficult game sometimes, even one that, you know, requires repetition and memorization, but this just takes it into a whole different realm. There are specific choices made by the developers to frustrate and penalize the player, specifically the spike traps, among others. It only takes one death to realize that the design of this game being insanely difficult was the exact intention. One accidental step into a spike trap and you get sent to the very beginning portion of the game with nothing but your sword and shield. You do have the ability to recover your belongings and your dead body, but finding where you died and not dying again before you get there was a super annoying task. The confusing part is that the game's map shows none of the previously discovered rooms, and going back through those not only repopulates the enemies, sure, fine, okay, but it also obscures them in the fog that was originally covered in them. I know what you're doing. You're sitting there. You're like, John, you idiot. You have no items? No open levels? Why not just speedrun to your body, bro? Guess again. The developers have laid tripwire down throughout the level to prevent you from running through it. Again, this is just an intentional design choice to make the game more frustrating. And just like every death sucked the fun out of whatever I was working towards. You could literally be an hour in, just like discovering, going through everywhere, only to just die out of nowhere and spend the next 15-20 minutes recovering all your items and heading back to the spot you were just at. And listen, I get the developers wanted to make death a punishment, but there's difficult and then there's just not fun, and unfortunately this lands the game in the latter. Alright, and that's gonna do it for this edition of the First Four. All I can really say is that, you know, I've never enjoyed a game so much only to have it turn around on me. I mean, I wanted to love this game, but the design choices just push into an area that I can't bring myself to. It's essentially like finding a supermodel that has an awesome personality and likes everything about you, but they just killed your dog on purpose. So it's like there's just no getting beyond it, and that's heartbreaking. But yeah, it's Johnny Bag of Donuts from Black and White Gaming. Thanks for coming to the channel and checking out the video. We're posting stuff all the time, so keep on coming back. And I'll catch you on the flippy floppy.